time has come for Midnight Confessions.
Hello, freaks, and welcome to another edition of Midnight Confessions. I'm your host, Reverend Phantom, and as always, I'm here with my co-host and fellow world traveler, Fred the Wolf. How you doing, man?
Besides the fact I'm a floating head attached to a spine, I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Doing all right. Hope you don't mind. I put little toothpicks in your neck, so I'm trying to get back.
Thanks.
Of course, no one who hasn't seen Mystics in Bali will have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. But today we start our trek around the world here in JFK Airport, and throughout May we'll be reviewing horror films from all over the globe. Today we are starting in the continent of Asia, and we would like, if we may, take you on a strange journey. No, seriously, this trip could not start any more bizarre. Yes, our strange journey starts in Asia. Japan, China, and Indonesia to be exact, and we'll be taking a look at three crazy-ass films. House from Japan, The Seeding of a Ghost from China, and Mystics in Bali from Indonesia. Plus, along the way, we'll be discussing Asian horror and exploitation films in general. But yeah, I mean, I say we find our terminal and get the show started.
Yep, let's go.
All right, you got your passport?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Before we get to our destination in Japan here, as I said, we'll be discussing, Asian horror films in general, not just exclusive to J-horror, which I think more people are probably familiar with than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know you have your issues with a lot of J-horror.
It's mainly the American remakes. I mean, I don't mind the actual originals themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I love Ju-on, The Grudge. I think the original Ju-on is fantastic.
Yes.
Ringu is okay. I actually like the remake of that better.
Yeah, I totally agree. The remake.
But movies like The Eye and Shudder, those movies, the originals are very inventive, very surreal filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the American remakes because I think something's lost in translation.
True.
When you Americanize it. But yeah, I really dig Asian horror because it's kind of its own thing. It's not really westernized like horror here in the United States.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of freaky stuff going on in Asia for some reason. I just, meowing people and, girls come out of wells, floating heads all over the place.
The whole black hair thing is really
it's
prominent.
It's bizarre. I don't know. It has a lot to do with technology too.
Which funny, by the way, Hausu, there's a scene there where the girl's in the tub and the black hair is coming. Something like almost like that one. It might have been like the birth of the black hair shit in Japan, man. Yeah. So yeah, I dig it for the most part. It got overkill. I mean, even the originals after a while, too much of the same thing over and over again with the little girls and the black hair. Or not always little girls. I mean, obviously it's. Did you ever get a chance to see? I believe it's called Carved, the Slit Mouth Woman.
I've seen it. I don't remember much about it.
Because there's a couple different movies called The Slit Mouth Woman. Now that there's one, I think there's one called just The Slit Mouth Woman, and there's another one called Carved.
Carved, yeah, I seen the one that's called Carved.
I was impressed by that one. It's really Americanized. I think it's almost got a Nightmare on Elm Street-ish kind of vibe to it, and it steps out of the box, I think, compared to some of the other like ghostly paranormal J horror stuff, and it's genuinely creepy. I mean, she kills kids. I mean, whenever that shit happens, you know, I mean, it's
Not playing around.
I mean, it even plays it like, oh, she's not gonna really kill the kid, but then she fucking kills the kid. Yeah, that's definitely one I recommend.
Well, they get away with more stuff over there than they do here, so
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where you gotta. I think any Asian films, you gotta realize that their culture is so much different than Western culture. It's
very spiritual, very religious kind of beliefs, ghosts and demons and all this stuff.
And a real the whole thing about technology with them over there. So
I mean, they're the number one leaders in technology if you think about it. I mean, cell phones and videotapes and stuff like that. I mean,
which is funny because a lot of those movies kind of like preach, they find horror in technology, and almost like in a warning kind of a way about cell phones, and
we're too reliable on technology,
right? And
that's what happens to us when we're too addicted to easy ways of living our lives.
Yeah, and that way, like, movies like The Grudge and stuff like that are really, they were almost ahead of their time, I think.
Yeah.
John The Grudge, and then we'll move on. I've always stated it has. I think that movie is one of the only movies I can think of that I've seen as an adult that I thought was scary.
Yeah.
There is a scene that I love. It's one of my favorite scary scenes in any horror movie. You remember the scene where they capture some footage of the ghost walking through? It's a security cam, right?
Right, yeah.
And the policeman that is looking at it through the videotape, right? And the ghost starts coming closer and closer and closer until it's just eyes. It's dark screen and just eyes on the screen. And this is what's great about that. This breaks all horror movie tropes. This is why it's great. He covers his eyes, right? And hoping like when he opens them back up, the vision will be gone and it was just his imagination. But he opens them up and the eyes are still fucking there staring at him. I was like, yes! That is great, man. That was totally unexpected.
That's like in Ringu, when the girl goes through the TV. You know what I mean? It's just like you're not expecting that to happen. You're just expecting her just to be on the screen, right? And then she goes right through the fourth wall and just breaks through it.
Yeah, so you think something at last minute's going to happen where she doesn't actually come through, and
and I actually jumped when that happened. Like, whoa! Like, I was not expecting that at all.
I saw that in a theater alone.
Oh.
The end of the movie where it flashes screen, like it flashes bits of the film, and then just goes to black.
Yeah.
I was all alone in a dark theater. Yeah.
Well, you lasted 7 days, so.
Right.
Japan.
All right, here we are in Japan, and the movie we are taking a look at today is House, or Hausu, from 1977, the year I was born. When Hosher finds out that her father's girlfriend is joining him on their summer trip, she and her friends decide to go to her aunt's farmhouse instead. From the moment they arrive, strange things, and that's putting it lightly, begin to happen, and the girls slowly begin to realize Osher's aunt may not have their best interest in mind. That is off IMDb. Directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi.
Yes.
Hey, I think that's pretty good.
I was right.
It's starring a gaggle of gorgeous Japanese girls: Kamiko Ikigami as Angel or Gorgeous, Miki Jimbo as Kung Fu, Kumiko Oba, Fanta, Matsubara as the Prof or Gari. I wasn't quite sure.
She was the professor. I think that was her,
right?
Because she was the smart one.
Miku Sato as Maku or Mac, Eriko Tanaka as Marodi or Melody, which I gotta point out. Okay, so the Japanese name for Melody is Melody.
Wow.
Which sounds like I'm making
stereotypes.
Right. Oh, Melody. Okay, Masayo.
We just lost our Asian audience, by the way.
Masayo. Oh, I lost it when I started saying these names. Masayo Miyako as Sweet, and Yoko Minamida as the auntie. And there's more cast members, but goddamn, that's where I'm stopping. Yeah, so that synopsis, I mean, that's about as good as you could probably come up with. Yeah, so the movie starts out. If you think the movie doesn't start getting bizarre until they get in the house, well, this movie starts off bizarre, doesn't it? It just gets worse. It doesn't let up. So these girls they're schoolgirls. The one lead girl, I guess in particular, her father, his widower father,
Right.
remarries or is getting remarried, and she's not happy with the choice of the woman, from what I gathered. Right.
You just met her. I mean, come on.
I know. And so she gets pissed, and instead of going on this trip with the two of them, she ends up going to her aunt's house instead. Right. And all the girls, her friends, come along with her. And
don't forget the cat. Snowflake.
Right. Which, how do you review this fucking movie?
Well, let me just say that this was the film I was most excited about because I had seen this movie years ago, and Phantom had never seen it. And I was like, I told him straight out, this movie was gonna mind fuck you.
And I knew that, and I'd owned this DVD for years and just never watched it because I'm like, someday I'm gonna check that movie out. And I knew it was weird. I knew you kind of had to be in the right mind space to watch it, and so yeah, I was very intrigued. Yeah, it's really an art film that's a horror film, right?
Just very visually bizarre. I mean, it's like right from the beginning, like this tints of color changing every frame. The slow motion. There's like pause and play where you pause it is kind of playing. It's like that's slow, but it's still kind of going in real time. There's musical numbers out of nowhere that, you know, that the scene with the bucket.
Oh, I know.
I mean, it's just bizarre. It's like a Sesame Street scene. It's so weird. It's one of those you can't really review this film as a logical movie.
It's a movie like that people who do drugs love.
That's what it is. It's what it is.
The thing is, the movie makes you feel like you're on drugs, so you don't even need to be on drugs. I've experimented with psychedelic drugs, and this movie is out there, man.
It's an acid trip.
Oh, definitely. It's everything. It's also very dreamlike. The scenes end abruptly, and things happen like in your dreams. You could be one place, and then all of a sudden you're in the next place, and you're in different clothes. Right. And it's the same thing here. It's like everything just kind of changes like that, and emotions change just flip on a dime, you know. It just crazy shit like that. There one scene in particular. I'm not really giving anything away, but it's towards the end. Where one of the girls, there's a scene happening, and then all of a sudden there's a man's face right next to her yelling something, and then we cut away where that is actually happening somewhere else. Right. The guy is in another part of wherever they are, but for a second he's in the scene with the girls. You know what I'm saying? People are listening to this going, "What?" Yeah, you kind of have to see it to really understand.
Yeah, it's a very subjective movie. I mean, you can't really, we can't really tell you it's good while you're watching it. You have to watch it, see it for yourself. It's a very colorful film. You're never gonna be bored because every scene has something happening. There's always a point to every scene. We gotta talk about the girls' names because the girls' names really carry the film in a lot of ways. Especially when I guess the house they go to is kind of like a nightmare house. So kind of like their worst fears kind of happen to them. Mm-hmm. Like Mac is the one that eats a lot, and it's one scene where she's a floating head. She's biting girls' butts. I mean, it's just
hold on. Let's stop right there. Let's focus on that scene for a second. Then we'll go back to the other girls.
Okay.
That scene made me laugh so hard. I had to pause the movie because I thought I was going to miss something. But like that guttural laughter, like, oh my God. It wasn't until I'm laughing and then this head comes out of a well. It's the Matt girl that has been missing, and the head floats up and comes down and bites the other girl in the ass, and then it rests on the ledge of the well and then vomits out a bunch of like bloody water. Mm-hmm. That's what it got me. What the fuck is this? That scene, that's probably my favorite scene in the whole film, and there's a lot of scenes I like, but that one in particular.
I think my favorite one is the one with Melody, who plays the piano in the house, and the piano decides to eat her, and it not just eats her like you would think a piano would eat somebody, but it eats her in such a way that she's pretty much discombobulated, right? But she's still kind of laughing and singing
she's very much happy about it.
Yeah, it's just very weird, and the piano keys are like changing color, and it's just very, very bizarre. It's just like wow, like who thinks of this when they're making a movie? They must have been on drugs or something. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know how you come up with the stuff sober. That's
right.
So rest of the girls, we got
Kung Fu, who fights. Obviously, we have Sweet, who's the nice girl. Mm-hmm. We have Professor, who wears the glasses. She's the smart one. Fanta, who's like the fantasy girl who thinks like dreams. She's in love with her professor, I think. That's the guy we're talking about at the end. I think we're talking about was the professor, the head, I think. Snowflake is the evil cat. So I guess he's evil. I don't know if you're sure if he's evil or not. I don't know. It kind of gets possessed in the house. Especially towards the end, where it's like this big monster cat starts attacking the girls.
So I was under the impression that the cat was the ant in a shape-shifting kind of form.
I honestly had no clue. Yeah, it's weird. It's things happen. It's just I can't really explain. I can't really recite everything. It's just it's bizarre.
Things happen like they do, like I was mentioning before, like in dreams. It's just you never know what's going to happen next. If you're looking for a logical conclusion of something that happened, it's not going to happen. A good blurb that I picked up off of Wikipedia is the Austin Chronicle gave House a mixed review, saying that there's surprisingly little to recommend House as a film, but as an experience, well, that's a whole other story.
It's definitely an experience.
Yes.
I think if you're going in looking for a good story, you're not gonna get it.
No.
But if you're looking for something like visually pleasing and interesting, then you're gonna love it.
And that just really depends on what kind of film goer you are. Really, I think because some people just don't understand. I don't want to sound pretentious and say don't understand, but just aren't. That's not what they're looking for when they when they want to sit down and watch a movie. You know, they want to disconnect for a minute and be told a story,
Right.
and you know, that's it. But you know, some people want to see something a little are totally cool with just having something visual. You know, shoot at them for 2 hours. You know, and that's exactly what this is. I'm a big fan of visuals in a movie, and if they're powerful enough and they're done in a certain way, story can go to the side as far as I'm concerned, as long as what they're doing is powerful enough.
I think that's what makes this movie kind of timeless in a lot of ways, because there's no story at all, and I think that the visuals will still feel fresh even now. This is a 70s movie, but it still feels new because no one has really kind of come out and done a movie like this. It's kind of its own thing, and I think that's why it gets such high praise, because it's such a bizarre art horror film that no one has really come close to really touching.
Correct. I couldn't agree more. Something else I pulled off of Wikipedia: the film company Toho approached Obayashi, the director, with a suggestion to make a film like Jaws. So obviously he nailed it. Influenced by ideas from his daughter, Obayashi developed ideas for a script that was written by Chihiro Katsura. After the script was greenlit, the film was put on hold for 2 years as no director at Toho wanted to direct it. Imagine that. Obayashi promoted the film during this time period until the studio allowed him to direct it himself. The film was a box office hit in Japan, but received negative reviews from critics. Again, imagine that. House received a wide release in 2009 and 2010 in North America, where it received more favorable reviews. And another thing, the majority of the cast of House were not established actors and were people Obayashi worked with on his commercials and independent films, which is interesting because I kept thinking about how much there were scenes that looked like commercials.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was a commercial director makes complete sense. Just the music and just the way he shot certain scenes was like, this looks like a fucking commercial for something.
Right. But I think that's why it works so well, because it's not like anything else.
Right.
And I just, you know, the fact that they're trying to make Jaws, I mean, it's just, I can't fathom that watching this movie. I mean, how does a girl getting killed by mattresses be the same as a shark killing people? I don't get it. But.
Another thing I noted while I was watching the film, this film is from 1977, so it predates MTV, which if you threw on like some Flock of Seagulls or Missing Persons or something, during it would look like an 80s MTV video. Totally.
You know what it reminds me of now? That Talking Heads Once in a Lifetime video where you just like the heads
exactly
in the background.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you take a look at a lot of those early 80s videos, they're very much in the vein of this movie. The special effects, the editing, which I also noted, this is a pretty early use of green screen, and they actually do it pretty well. Obviously, you can tell what is green screen, what isn't, but it's
looks
done
amazing.
Really well. Yes.
It looks amazing. It looks like a pop-up book in a lot of ways.
Right.
And especially one scene where I think it's the background's like a cloudy blue sky, and you know there's a wall, and they go to the airport, and you see the wall actually turn towards the gates.
Right.
And it's such a great visual.
Oh, art direction in this film is just off the charts. It's so incredible.
The bus scene, the bus or the train scene. It was like a cardboard, like a cardboard thing. It's just amazing. It's like wow, like you're in a fantasy world with these characters.
There's another the scene where there's a flashback. She's telling the girls this flashback story,
right.
But it's like they're watching it like it's a movie.
It's a film reel. Yeah.
But it's a flashback.
Right.
That's totally like a dreamlike type thing, you know? Yeah, the commercial thing I noted, the stepmother seems like she's trapped in a feminine hygiene commercial. You know, with the wind softly like making her
intro was so great when she's walking slow motion, the wind's blowing in her hair,
billowing clothes.
Yeah, it was like this surreal, beautiful woman just coming like breath of fresh air into the movie. It's just amazing. So great.
And then last thing I noted on here, even the end credits are trippy.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
So
special effects are great, I think, for this 1977. I mean,
yeah.
It wasn't. I don't think it was a big budget movie, but I mean, you couldn't tell.
Right.
I mean, everything was put into the art, and I think that's why it works so well. He went for it, and he didn't look back. Like, should I do this now? He went. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it work, and it works because of that.
Right.
And I think that's why it's still timeless in a lot of ways.
You know, the film wasn't released in the States until, you know, just this last decade, but obviously this movie had to play in art houses around the country
Right.
at certain times. It had to have influenced a lot of people outside of Japan, because it's,
I'm sure.
because you can see by looking at that, so many like music videos and commercials and shit that came after that. You see a lot of it in this movie.
You look at a lot of children's shows from the 80s. They kind of look like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, like when you do the maple leaf thing, it looks kind of like that.
Right.
You know, you can tell it's a fantasy world.
Yeah. You know, bottom line, nothing we could say about this movie would really serve it justice. It's just one of those movies. If you're into that kind of shit, you should probably check this out. It's worth checking out just for the visual experience alone.
Well, if you have Hulu Plus, you can definitely watch it because it's part of the Criterion collection, so it's easy to watch. It's definitely recommended. I think if you have the time and you sit down and watch it just for the visual effects alone, I think you'll just love it. I just think, you know, it's one of those films that you can really review without, you know, it's a subjective movie. It's an art movie, but it's a great, fantastic art movie.
Well said. Anyway, I think that puts a good cap on it. Let's find our way to China, shall we?
Let's go.
All right. You know, and you could discuss Asian horror without talking about Takashi Miike.
Yeah.
I mean,
That dude's amazing, man.
Yeah, he makes some amazing shit.
Movies.
Oh, it's all over the place, man. I mean, some of it's so bizarre, and then, I mean, not just his horror movies. I mean, everything. Do you have any particular?
I think the biggest one is Ichi the Killer. I mean that movie is just amazingly brutal.
Yeah.
Just one of the best, you know, horror exploitation films ever made. I mean,
Audition is the other. I think.
Oh yeah, that film really terrified me as a man.
Right.
Just meet a woman, blind date this woman, and she ends up being a serial killer who tortures you. I mean, it's just like the idea of it is just, it's scary because it can happen.
The pacing of that movie is so great.
Right.
You know, it totally comes to a crescendo at the end. You know, it builds where the scenes that show her in her apartment and something's in a bag that keeps moving.
And then she's humming that song while she's just doing
know.
things. It's just, oh wow. It's like, it creeps you out. Like, this girl is not there at all.
Oh, she's enjoying it, man. That's the worst part.
Oh man. And that movie just turned 15 already? Just turned 15.
I would imagine.
Wow.
Yeah. To anybody listening out there, if you've not seen any of Takashi Miike movies, Audition and Ichi the Killer are two great places to start with those films.
He goes all out. It's like very real horror.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these things can actually happen in real life.
Right.
That's what makes them scary.
You know, I've seen a lot of his movies actually. Outside of horror, his Dead or Alive movies. Go Zoo is actually probably one of my favorite of his films, which is his take on Alice in Wonderland, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But it's instead of a girl, it's a Yakuza gangster, which he does a lot. He does a lot of Yakuza gangster movies. But Go Zoo, man, that one is so surreal and trippy. Yeah, it's definitely a favorite. He makes a lot of fucking movies. He reminds me a little bit of like just Franco and just the amount of holy shit, this guy never stops making movies and several a year, and there's like no way you could sit down and watch. It would take years to catch up on all his films. I don't know how the guy has the time.
He's amazing. I mean, it's just like every film he makes is just quality. I mean, you know, you're gonna get something great,
right?
No matter how. No, it maybe some of his films won't be as good as the others, but you always know it's gonna be great.
Right.
Something about it's gonna be great.
Right, and you could almost definitely assume it's gonna be fucking weird.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to see Sukiyaki Western Django?
I have not. I've heard of it. I just have not had this chance to sit down and see it, but I do want to see it because I heard just weird things about it.
Visually, it's really really
That's what I
good.
heard.
It's weird. It's out there. It's one of those. It's a hard sell, I think, but just the fact that he makes it look so goddamn beautiful, and turns this whole. He puts this cowboy spin on old Japanese like folklore shit. It's and then of course Quentin Tarantino's in it for really no reason, and he kind of, as much as I like Quentin Tarantino, he kind of hurts that movie a little bit, but it's definitely an experience. So
I'm definitely gonna check it out.
All right, from China, The Seeding of a Ghost from 1983, directed by Chuan Yang. All right. Following the prediction of a dark magician, the unfaithful wife of a Hong Kong cab driver falls victim to a pair of murderous thugs. Outraged, the cabbie arranges supernatural vengeance with the aid of an unholy union between the dead. That's off of Wikipedia, because the one on IMDb sucked. So,
not bad.
Right. This stars Norman Chu as Anthony Fang, Philip Ko as Chow, Maria Zhou as Irene Chow, Mi Ten as Fang's wife, and Yu Wang. It says guest star, but I'm pretty sure he's the sorcerer in the film. So, yeah, this. What I will say from this after watching Hausu is this does have a linear plot. You know, it is certainly bizarre, but the story is pretty straightforward.
Right.
The Fang character meets this woman at a casino. They're both married. They end up hooking up. The husband of... Go ahead.
Right. Then she wants the lover to leave his wife to be with him.
Right.
and then her husband's a cab driver, and they kind of have these kind of exchanges where they kind of miss each other while they're having the affair. And then one night when the lover kind of refuses Irene, she kind of leaves the car and meets up with these two kind of rapists, I guess. They're kind of like criminals, and they rape her. Well, one of them rapes her, and then the other one wants to push the other one into raping her. He doesn't want to. They go to the top of the roof. She pushes her off the balcony, and she dies.
Right.
And I guess the ghost of the wife kind of tells the husband where she is, and it becomes like Law and Order in the middle of the film.
Well, first of all, we forgot at the very beginning of the movie, the cab driver hits
the witch doctor.
The witch doctor who was robbing a grave,
right?
And he was running away from the cops, and he gets hit by the car, but lives. But that makes the cab driver remember some of the things that the guy said, and so he ends up going to him, in hopes to bring his wife back and some sort of
revenge on the people
and get revenge on the two killers and the guy she was having an affair with.
Right.
Which, by the way, she got out of the car on her own. It wasn't like he abandoned her there.
Right.
So that's the whole thing I was thinking. The whole thing. Well, yeah, I mean, he had an affair with your wife, but he really didn't have anything to do with her being killed.
I saw the same thing when I was watching. Like, I guess he was just angry at him. I guess because
he tried to get her to come back in the car.
Right. She was just stubborn and went, "Hey, I don't care."
Right. So she goes off and gets raped, as she says, raped and killed, and but these two obnoxious punks, basically.
Paul and Peter, I think their names were. Peter was the leader, and Paul was kind of the follower. And just watching their home lives was just funny. Like, Paul lives with his sister, Peter lives with his mom.
Right.
I mean, it's just like, and this film, I really like this film because it was like a hodgepodge of different things. First of all, it's a magic witch movie. It's kung fu elements in here.
Well, before we should mention this is produced by the Shaw Brothers. So this is a Shaw Brothers Studios movie.
Right.
Shaw Brothers. If you're not familiar, like they produced some of the best.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the One-Armed Swordsman, Five Fingers of Death, Legend of Seven Golden Vampires, The Mighty Peking Man, stuff like that. So they're responsible for some genuinely good Chinese films. So
right,
knowing that they were behind this from the get-go, watching it, you're like, oh well, at the very least this is going to be very entertaining. So, and it was.
But yeah, what I liked about it was very Americanized Asian movie because it had like it was very linear. The story was very easy to connect with. It's a revenge movie, most of all. I mean, the husband wants revenge on his wife's killers and the lover, I guess. And you have like kung fu elements. You have like policemen. You have this magic spirits having sex with each other. It's just a very it's like Cinemax softcore porn.
I wrote that same thing. That's funny.
It has everything you want in a movie. And was it 90 minutes long? I think it was. And it works.
Yeah, from the very first scenes, that's the first thing I noticed. This is excellent quality of film. It looks like a Hollywood film from the 80s. So
the film looks amazing. I mean, it looks professional. It's clear. The lighting's great. The special effects are actually not that bad. What they are.
The use I wrote Mario Bava-esque use of color and lighting. There's great like use of just flashes of light in different colors in different spots. It looks so good.
Had a lot of yellow tints.
Yes.
The spirits had like the light coming from underneath them, so it kind of lit their faces, makes them look creepier. I just thought it was very well done.
Yeah, it's definitely deserving of a Blu-ray release. It's also got slow motion bouncing titties.
Baywatch, pre-Baywatch.
Full female frontal nudity, man,
yes.
in more than one scene.
A lot of bush.
Yeah, it just like I wrote late night Skinomax style sex scenes.
And we had a match going through a guy's butt. I think that's what was happening.
That's another thing I want to touch on. This movie has elements of tongue-in-cheek humor, stuff like that. That I think was intentional. The scene you're talking about in particular, the when the witch doctor is creating some of his formulas and shit like that, he ends up possessing the wife of Fang, and after they have sex, he creates, like you said, it looks like a giant matchstick,
Right.
and she proceeds to just ram it up Fang's ass.
But the funniest part was he was not affected by it after the fact. Like, you would think, so he must have been used to that. I was like, okay, I knew more about his private life than I wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just laughing the whole time.
And you, of course, know she's possessed because she gets Michael Jackson Thriller eyes.
Yeah. Oh, they do an exorcism. That's right. Yeah. With an egg.
Right. As soon as the witch doctor comes back into the film, then it starts getting really
right
weird and bizarre and fun.
Because the first half is very like dramatic, is very revenge oriented kind of style, exploitation, and then once she dies, it becomes like supernatural, mystical.
Right.
Forces attacking, killing people, and
by the end of the movie, when there's a head that's also looks like the Deadly Spawn with tentacles and foaming mouth, you're like, is this the same movie I started watching?
That scene was awesome. The pregnant woman has her belly just bursts open, and the demon fetus comes out and kills people. Amazing.
It's so trauma-esque.
Yeah,
that's what I wrote. I'm like, this is like a Chinese trauma film, pre-trauma, by the way.
Right.
Because I don't think Toxic Avenger was like 85 or 84 or somewhere around there.
84, yeah.
So
a year after.
Right. So this predates trauma, and it the last half of this movie is very very trauma-esque.
Yeah. And just the way she gets revenge on the killers is just really funny. I thought like the sister seducing the brother, which I thought was very weird. And the water stuff with Peter, with the water flowing and the toilet explodes, and
exactly, it was just stuff like that. Was like, wow, this is like really inventive stuff. It wasn't your typical revenge type shit.
And he's drinking blood and eating brains and doesn't even realize he's doing that, but the mom sees him doing it. It's so great.
He eats a whole plate of noodles and then it vomits it up in their worms, and this is I really enjoyed this one.
I did too.
And I would highly recommend it to just your casual horror fan. I think it's definitely got it. That's another thing I forgot that I wrote down here. The rape scene.
Okay.
Extremely realistic. More so than even though it's not really graphic or anything like that, the way that she fights back, and they constantly chase her and pin her down, and she escapes again. Was like, that was a very realistic scene. It's
it's very tense. It's very,
right, compared to other rape revenge movies where the woman just kind of like ends up like kind of taking it or submitting.
Right.
I think this was actually more realistic, where more women probably do fight back like that. Obviously, it's to no avail. They obviously get the upper hand at some point.
He's slapping her around. He's taking off her clothes. It's just like, and then she's knocked out. He rapes her when she's knocked out. It's just very disturbing in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, she falls down the stairs at one point.
Yeah,
and I thought she was dead, and I thought he was going to have sex with her while she was dead, but she was just knocked out.
Wouldn't have surprised me, honestly.
Yeah.
That guy was a creep.
And speaking of the rapist, did you notice they had their own theme music?
No, I didn't.
And it's now the most of the score in the film is kind of like a synthesizer kind of thing, but when the rapists are on the screen, it's a 50s horror movie like Creature from the Black Lagoon type music.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Oh, interesting.
It was totally out of place. I was like, and I thought, that's just what the music was, but it was only when the rapists were on the screen. So, I love little touches like that directors throw in.
And I love the kung fu sequences.
Totally.
They come out of nowhere, by the way. But I mean, once they happen, the fight choreography is so great.
Yes.
So inventive. It was like, wow. Like, I love the sound effects too. The sound effects
Oh,
made me laugh.
it's straight. I mean, it's a Shaw Brothers movie.
Yeah.
So.
Especially when they're rolling down the hill, it's like boom, 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 like a basketball dribbling. It was like really. But it was great, you know. And I just thought the whole film was fantastic. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was.
The special effects for that time, that era, and the fact that it's not Hollywood, it's Chinese. It's a Chinese studio.
Right.
I think are pretty good. I thought the corpse of the dead wife was very effective. The puppeteering at some points got a little silly, but the actual corpse itself I thought was pretty well done.
And I love the whole spirit having sex with the corpse. I just thought that was interesting. They devoted like 5 minutes to that whole scene. Which was amazing.
You kind of had to see that one to understand that one, I think.
It was just like it's like the wish. I was like, it's okay. He's gonna let the spirit have sex with your wife. Let's let them do it. Like, really? Yeah, it's amazing. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was, honestly.
That's exactly my thoughts as well. When I sat down, I was like, oh, this is just gonna be some sort of like B movie, whatever, typical kind of thing. But no, it was very entertaining, and I would highly recommend it to fans of horror in general.
I mean, it has everything you want. I mean, fighting, horror, spirits, sex. I mean, it's everything. I mean, if you're gonna want to watch for one reason, you're gonna have all reasons in that one movie.
Right.
So it's like, that's why I enjoyed it, because I was like, okay, I got everything I wanted.
And I wasn't aware that the Shaw Brothers did any horror movies, so I'm probably gonna seek out more. I was looking online, and there are a few more around that same time that are
okay.
So I'll definitely be checking some of those out, I think.
And I do agree they should be on Blu-ray, because I think this will look amazing.
Oh yeah, totally
on Blu-ray. It's just so clear and it's so professional. I mean, I don't know how much the budget was, but I mean, everything. You could tell how professional made it was.
Totally.
And the acting is very good.
Yeah.
And, I mean, nothing's really cheesy about it, except for really the special effects and stuff like that. But other than that, I mean, it's very realistic, very serious in tone.
And anything that's even remotely cheesy in the film, I think is done on purpose.
Right.
To be tongue-in-cheek humor, you know. So
like the whole fireball scene, I thought was hilarious. The mirror, yeah, I thought that whole thing was hilarious. And I was really glad you picked this one, because I was really surprised like how much quality this was. Because I was expecting it to be really stupid, to be honest. And then
I completely pulled this one out of the air. I just happened to find a trailer for it on YouTube, and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. So.
Definitely A+. I really liked it.
I agree. All right. And I think that pretty much covers it, I think. Shall we head over to Indonesia?
If we must.
Should we detour somewhere else first?
Let's get over it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go. Now, so far, we've only really focused on Japanese films, but Korea makes some great horror movies and just movies in general. Did you ever get a chance to see The Host?
Yeah, I did see The Host, yeah. I didn't realize that was from Korea. That's a great movie. Great monster movie. It kind of reminds me of what the Godzilla movies coming out now kind of looks like in a lot of ways.
Right.
So
I enjoyed that one quite a bit, more than I thought I would. Really well done, great special effects.
Yeah,
I think that movie came out in like 2007 or 6 or something like that.
It was 2007, I believe. Yeah, got a lot of praise when it came out.
Yeah. Of course, you know, the whole old boy and Lady Vengeance. And I forget what the first part of that. It's a trilogy. I forget what the first one's called, but
I really don't remember. But I seen both. I seen both of those though.
Yeah, I mean,
especially Old Boy. Old Boy is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best films in the last 15 years.
We definitely did. I would agree. Totally.
Have you seen the remake yet? I have not checked it out.
I haven't, no.
I'm kind of afraid to. I don't know if I want to ruin that experience for me.
Which is, I love Brolin, though. I thought that was a good... If you were going to remake it and you were going to cast it, I thought that was a pretty decent choice.
Right.
Of course, I haven't seen it. So, it could be...
But yeah, Lady Vengeance 2 is also pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Chan Park Wook? Is that the?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's, I believe The Eye was a Korean.
It's Korean, yeah. It's Korean, yeah. Which is pretty good.
Yeah. The remake was terrible. But
that was awful.
Was that Jessica Alba? Was that the
Jessica
one?
Alba, yeah. Terrible, terrible movie.
Yeah, but the original, it was pretty good. Another one of those kind of like outside the box, weren't kind of expected to go where it was going, and
right.
I always appreciate stuff like that. What I'm probably least familiar with are Chinese horror movies.
I think I've seen many from China, honestly.
Which, after watching Seeding of a Ghost, I actually kind of want to check out some more. I've seen the Ebola Syndrome, I think is the name of that movie.
Yeah.
Which is a semi-sequel to the film The Untold Story. All those Category 3 Chinese movies. From what I do appreciate about the few that I've seen, very Americanized. They look like they could have been made in Hollywood,
right?
Which is something I appreciated about Seeding of a Ghost. If it wasn't that setting, it would have looked like an 80s movie from Hollywood.
America.
Yeah.
I think that the Chinese movies are one based on like the story, and everything else kind of comes after that. Unlike like Hong Kong and Japan, where it's more about the art and the visual presentation rather than the story itself. I think that's the difference. So, but I haven't seen much from China though. So Seeding of a Ghost for me was kind of like amazing to me because I was like, wow, it's very Americanized.
Which, I've seen obviously a lot of kung fu movies from China, and a lot of those do kind of fall into the exploitation, even some horror, with Seven Golden Vampires and stuff like that. Right. Mm-hmm. So, which a lot of those movies are Shaw Brothers movies who produced Seeding of a Ghost, which when I saw that, I was like, because I wasn't even aware that they did any horror movies. So,
right.
Were you
aware? Once he saw that, once he saw that the name, you go, this is gonna be pretty good.
Exactly, exactly. I was excited when I saw that logo. I was like, well, damn, this is at least gonna be entertaining.
Right. It's gonna have some decent production values going into it. It's gonna be a well-made movie. Depending if it's good or bad, it's gonna be well-made.
Right.
So I was excited for that when I saw the name. Oh, good, cool.
Yes, exactly. I'm good. I thought the same thing.
But yeah, I would like to delve more into the Asian horror scene. I kind of dug what we watched this week. Very different from the past month with the Halloween stuff. I mean, just totally different.
Yeah,
and it was refreshing. I think we're so stuck in these American horror scene that I think we need to expand ourselves into other regions of the world and see what they have to offer. And you kind of realize that horror is not really dead; it's just different in other places.
Exactly.
So I think that's a good thing.
I couldn't agree more.
Indonesia.
All right, here we are in gorgeous Indonesia, taking a look at Mystics in Bali from 1981, directed by, okay, H. You know what? I'm not even going to... Go ahead and you can go to IMDb and you can check out the name of this director, because I'm not going to murder the poor guy's name. From IMDb, researching a book that takes her to Bali and the black magic cult of Leek, Kathy meets an evil witch which promises to train her in the dark arts. Tricked, Kathy is turned into a Penagag. God damn it.
We'll go with it.
Penagolin. Okay. A flying vampire with internal organs hanging from her neck. It is now up to the local holy men, who are then enforced to do battle with the forces of evil. All right. So the film stars Iona Agathe Bastian. She's actually the only person who's not. She's a Western actress. This is her only film as Kathy. Yo Santo as Mahendra. Sophia W.D., the old Leek Queen. And I don't know what the WD shit. WD Mokhtar as Makasi. Both of those two actors also are in a film called The Queen of Black Magic, another Indonesian film from around the same era. So, yeah. So this film, as opposed to the other two films that we watched, definitely there's a quality issue that changes. From those other two films. This is a B movie. This puts the B in B movie. That being said, I did have fun watching it. This is a bad movie, but
yes,
I laughed through the whole thing. It's so silly and absurd. The special effects, everything. It's very strange. I know this is actually the first true Indonesian horror film aimed at a Western audience, which obviously went right over our Western heads. Okay, so I mentioned what this character. The film revolves around a Balinese mythology of Leek Penagolin. Okay, and the film was actually originally banned in Indonesia, probably because it's so bad. I would assume. The character is based off Indonesian folklore. According to the folklore of that region, the Penagolin is a detached female head capable of flying around on its own. As it flies, the stomach and entrails dangle below it, and the organs twinkle like fireflies of the Penagolin as it moves through the night. The film received a DVD release by Mondo Macabro, which is a pretty decent distribution company, in 2003, but has since been deleted. Mondo Macabro released a new edition in 2007 that featured a new HD transfer from the original negative, which I can't believe helped it that much.
I agree.
The scenes that aren't happening during the special effects actually do look, I thought, pretty decent for this low budget Indonesian film. Right. But we should probably explain the issue with some of the special effects. From what I've gathered by looking at it, basically they do the old B-movie trick from the 50s where they're putting the actors in front of a film screen of the film. So you can tell it's somebody standing in front of a movie screen when certain special effects happen. Right. The quality of the film changes drastically. It looks like it reminded me of like public access television. Right. You know, the head comes out of her body. it's like you can tell the head and the body are standing in front of a screen. It's pretty bad.
It looked like uncut footage they put in the movie to kind of make it, when they do like that, they took the latest scenes and put it into the film. That's what it looked like to me.
That's what I thought at first. I was like, oh, was that part deleted for this? This is like a deleted scene. Then I was like, oh no, I see what they're doing there.
It's just amazing. Like I just looked at it and went, wow.
Right.
Wow. I really no words for this movie, honestly. I was just like, wow, like what do I say?
Here's just a few of the notes that I jotted down while I was watching it. First of all, the man in the film his name's Mahendra.
Right.
I swear to God, it sounds like she says my hand job. It's like his name's my hand job.
He's the Asian Lionel Richie, by the way. He has a nice fro with the stash.
Perfect little stash. Yep.
Yeah. The actress I read was actually a German woman they actually found in the streets, and they hired her just because of her looks. And you can tell right away just by her stiff acting in this movie. A lot of expository dialogue, by the way. I mean, it was just like the camera in the head, like this is what's going on. Boom, 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 right. Boom. I'm just shut up.
we got to talk about the old leak queen, and all her different phases through the film.
Yeah, how different they were.
At one point, she's just a tongue. That had me cracking up, man. It's like, you can't see me.
That's exactly what she sounded like. The laughing for 5 straight minutes.
She at one point at first I thought she sounded like Yoda. I was like, and then in the second phase, when she's the cigarette first, and you can hardly see her face, and then she's a tongue in the next scene, and then the scene after that, she's like, she's changed a little bit. But the first thing I said was she looked like Snooki from Jersey Shore with shit on her face.
Oh, wow.
I was like, Master Snooki. All right.
I got that image in my head.
And she also reminded me in certain scenes of, you're a little younger than me, so you're probably more familiar with it. The what was the villain on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers?
Oh, Rita Repulsa.
Right. The way she talked a lot, it was...
Watch my monster grow!
Exactly.
And she grew herself in the movie, by the way.
Right. Exactly. It reminded me of that a lot. Yeah. So the film is unintentionally hilarious. I mentioned to Fred earlier, this would have been a perfect Mystery Science Theater movie. Mm-hmm. That's all I did the whole time, was just come up with riffs the whole time.
The dialogue was so stiff and so dull.
Uh-huh.
It was just like, it was saying things we already knew.
Right.
And it was just like, once it got to like the special effects and the black magic stuff, it got entertaining because it was just so silly.
Right.
But they're turning into pigs. They're turning into snakes.
Exactly.
The snake transformation, by the way, was hilarious. The forked tongues, the big lips.
Every transformation was hilarious, dude. The pigs were. It was like, what is going on?
The final pig transformation with the boobs. I was just like, wow, like really.
So I think from this point of the review on, I think we both agree we're not necessarily recommending this movie. Unless you're wanting to see something bad and kind of laugh at it, but it's definitely not like, oh, you should definitely check this out. It's good. It's if you like laughing at B movies and just seeing bizarre shit, and then yeah, it's worth checking out for that just for shits and giggles. But we can't talk about this movie without spoilers. I don't think so.
Right. No, we can't.
Because that's some of the funniest shit. I mean. When she turns into the floating head thing and the way it floats,
she has vampire teeth.
Just thinking about it's making me crack up, man. And she goes, and there's this woman having a baby, and she busts into the house, and the woman the wet nurse, what is she supposed to be? The doctor who's taking care of her, she knocks her through a wall.
That was hilarious. I'd have paused it. I was just dying. was like she just slightly tapped her and she just flew right into the wall.
And she proceeds to abort the baby with her mouth.
It was like lesbian porn, but deadlier.
She sucks the baby right out.
I have a vagina, by the way.
And you can see the stomach going down.
And these two guys are just looking at her doing it. She's just looking back like, what are you gonna do? I was just dying the whole time, like, wow.
And there's a scene where the good priest or whatever he's supposed to be is helping the guy fight the thing, and he puts these toothpick type things in the neck after that, so when the head floats back and attaches itself to the body, it can't get there because these spikes are coming up. So she's trying to take him out with her teeth, and she gives up, and the body just falls. I should mention the body's standing up on its own.
Right, with no head, by the way.
Right, with no head, and she's trying to take the spikes out with her teeth, and it just...
I was just... she pukes mice at one point.
Right.
It's just, what?
The night after she's a snake.
Snake, right.
So,
I love the expression on all the evil people's faces. They're bug-eyed. Right. That's the evil expression. You know, they snarl and they like have their eyes wide open. That's how you know they're evil.
And at one point, the good or the other leak, whatever, and the old lady, they're balls of fire, and just ramming up against each other. That's their fight. Is they're just ramming up against each other.
I like when she wins. She goes, "Yes, and I'm the most powerful." Yes, what accomplishment! Good for you.
Yeah. This movie's hilarious. It really is.
And then characters just pop out of nowhere at the end that had nothing to do with the rest of the story.
Right. Throughout the whole film, there's this woman wandering in the shadows, and you don't know why until the very end, where we find out it's the lead guy's ex-girlfriend. And it's like, what? He's like, Maya, my ex-girlfriend. What did you do? It's like, who talks like that? I'm like, wow. Yeah.
It's amazing. Amazing stuff. I mean, when it got silly, it was great. I mean, I was just laughing. But when it was like very like the two characters are talking, they're in love with each other, I just was bored.
Right.
And it really did nothing for me. Oh, there's no like transitional scenes, no setup scenes. Like it's one night. The night will end, and then the next season, the next night, without any sort of in between. Right. And I didn't. It just drew me off. Like, was this the same night? Is this a different night? I didn't know until the witch said.
See, now here's the thing. Now, those scenes between the woman and the lead woman and lead guy, when they're alone. Did you catch this? There's this weird sexual innuendo shit. Okay, the very first scene, she's in bed, and he comes into the room, right? And they show him from like, he's got a shirt on, but they show him only from the neck up, so he kind of looks like he's naked. And he's like, "I got a big surprise for you." And she's like, she's at crotch level on the bed to him, and then they pan down, and he's in the clothes, and he's talking about something else. But it's like. And then later in the film, she gets this like the witch lady puts a like tattoo type thing on her thigh, and it's almost like she's like telling him to like get closer to my crotch, you know,
seducing him.
And he's all like, okay, like,
and he's touching her leg and getting close, and she's like, oh yeah, that's enough. I gotta put my clothes on. I'm like, what a tease. I was like, you deserve what you get, girl.
But
I'm sorry.
It was so weird. This like. Weird sexual like adolescent kind of
it was like they felt like brother and sister, but they were in love with each other. It was very weird. It's like I was like, I can't buy these people as a couple at all. It felt forced in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But I don't know. It's a very weird movie, a different weird than what House was. It's bizarre.
Yes,
in a bad way, but it makes you laugh. At least I was entertained.
Right, exactly.
When it was silly, so I can't hate on it too much.
No, as long as you know what you're in for when you're watching this movie, whereas Hausu is a really good art film. Seeding of a Ghost is just a really good
film.
Hollywood style film from China, and this is just B movie junk,
This was the Roger Corman of the three.
which is mean to Roger Corman.
Right.
That's how bad it is.
I apologize, Mr. Corman. But yes, B movie is a cheesy, I guess a C movie. I can't call it a B movie. It's like a C movie in a lot of ways, but at least it's entertaining when it works. It works.
Right.
But just ignore those first 20 minutes of the movie. It's just really dull.
Yeah. Once the witch lady, doctor lady, whatever, leak priestess,
Right.
whatever the fuck she is.
Freedom of Pulsar, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Just her voice and the laughter is just like.
That whole laughing scene was like 5 minutes long. Where they're just laughing at each other.
Oh,
that's the fakest laugh ever.
That was the best, dude. When she's like laughing, and then all of a sudden the other girl just starts laughing like that kind of laugh when like you don't get a joke and everyone else is laughing, so you just kind of go.
And then the witch is looking at her, and the witch is looking. She stops and looks like, "Yes, she's an idiot." Like, shut up.
Yeah, this is yeah. So quality wise, obviously, vastly different than the other two movies we reviewed. So keep that in mind if you do want to check it out. It's out there for people to watch. So, if you feel like checking it out for shits and giggles, sure, go for it. Have a ball.
Or head.
Right. Yeah. So, all right. So that's I think that pretty much covers Asia. Now, originally we did want to go to India and check out a movie there, but we had subtitle issues with that film, so we ended up scrapping that, and our Mystics of Bali was a last minute replacement. So at least it was a fun movie.
I wonder which one would have been worse, honestly.
I'm thinking it might have been, so I think we might have dodged a bullet there. So, all right, and let's see. So next week we are gonna go to Australia, and The Loved Ones is the film there. I don't have the information in front of me, but it's from the last few years, I believe.
2009, I think.
Is it okay? And then we go on quite the journey. So it's going to be a long trip from Australia to South Africa. But we go to South Africa in a movie called Night Drive, which I really don't know much about. I think the trailer looks interesting. And then from there, we go to Italy and watch the movie Maya. I believe it's from 1989. Again, a movie that I've heard of in different circles, never seen it. I've seen the trailer, looks interesting. Late 80s Italian movies are kind of a mixed bag. What I will say for most of them, they look good because by that point in Italy, I think more money was be able to put into the budget of films from the success of earlier stuff from Argento and Fulci and all those guys. You know, people were wanting to invest a little bit more in Italian films by the late 80s, so they look good, but a lot of them are really terrible. So
we'll hope for the best for that one.
We'll cross our fingers on this one. So yeah, so let's see, we should do the social networking stuff. Feel free to contact us, leave comments on our Facebook page, which is Midnight Confessions Podcast. On Twitter, we are at MC_podcast. Again, I meant to do this all at the beginning, and now we're doing it at the end again. Fred's got fullmoonreviews.net. I've got reverendphantom.com. And, of course, iTunes. Please download us on iTunes. Give us comments and ratings on there. It helps us considerably. I don't know.
I think
that covers it.
It's time to leave Asia.
Yes. We gotta hang out in Indonesia a little bit, until we go to Australia. So
right.
That's no problem. I mean, Indonesia looks actually pretty beyond the stupid movie we had to watch that takes place in it. It's actually a pretty
we'll stay away from the woods, and
Right.
we'll be fine. No witch doctors. We don't need that.
Right. All right. Until next week, kids. The confessional is closed.
This has been a presentation of Phantom Morte Productions.